Genesis chapter 3 verse 15. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel.
Right. Now, that's now the Most High saying that he's going to put enmity, which is basically a difference, a grievance, a beef, if you will, between thee, the thee being the serpent, and the woman being Eve. It says, in between thy seed, meaning the serpent seed, showing you that what? It's the serpent has children, and that's talking about an actual man, all right, and her seed. Because how is a woman's seed going to be sitting there going to war with an actual snake's seed? It doesn't make no sense.
Right, and first of all, a woman doesn't bear seed.
Exactly.
A woman is the earth.
Exactly. So it's dealing with the once again the spirit that's in the so-called white man, which is the spirit of the devil that was in in the serpent like man back then. And the Lord said that it was going to be enmity between the serpent seed and her seed, the woman's seed, which when you go further into it, that goes into Cain and Abel, and then it goes down the line to Jacob and Esau.
Right. Right. There's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob being the fathers of the promise, passed down to the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. That's the seed, her seed, that it was speaking about, Israel.
Right, because when you read on, if you go into the 4th chapter, it tells you about Cain and Abel, and it tells you how Cain slew his brother Abel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that's part of that curse that the Most High put about the enmity between the seeds. So pretty much,
Right.
it was all set up that was going to happen. And then again, like we said, it continues on throughout history once you get to Jacob and Esau. And that's
Exactly.
which we try not to delve too much into different points, but when you go to Genesis 25th chapter, it explains that.
Yep.
But this is why, because that's the curse the Most High put upon the serpent. It said that, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. So now, when it speaks about the seed bruising thy head, meaning the woman's seed is going to bruise the head of the serpent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's happened during the Dark Ages, or right before the Dark Ages, during the pagan Roman Empire, with the uprising of Severus Septimius. If I'm saying it right, he bruised the head of the Roman Empire. He's one of the Israelite so-called Negro uh, militant of the Roman army, gladiator as well, and he led a rebellion against the Roman army back then during around 193 A.D. And that was how Rome was overtook. It was overtaken by Jake. So it started there, but ultimately that's going into the time period that we're in now. Now it's talking about what the Lord's going to raise us up, the Israelites, and we're going to bruise the head of the so-called. When you bruise the head of the so-called, or when you bruise anybody's head, that's a death blow.
Fatality.
That's a fatality.
That's right.
And then when you read in the book of Revelations, the 13th chapter, it tells you that one of her heads were wounded. That's going back to 193 A.D. But then it tells you that her deadly wound was healed.
Right, and if I could say this, what's the best way of killing a snake? You gotta chop off its head.
Yep.
If you chop off, like let's say a rattlesnake, a rattlesnake, you may approach a rattlesnake and you chop off its rattle, but guess what? If you don't chop off that head, it's gonna bite you and it's poisonous, and ultimately you're gonna die.
Yep.
So you gotta cut that head.
Gotta cut that head. You gotta cut that head, and that's what Israel did. Like I said, going back during the Roman Empire, and that's why I said one of her heads were wounded, as it were, in the death, which that was the Roman Empire being wounded by what? By Jake.
Right.
By in particular Severus Septimius, right, and the rest of the army that was the Jake army that was with him. But now ultimately, because remember it said her deadly wounds were healed. But again, speaking about Esau, the seed of the serpent. How was it healed? During the Renaissance era, when Esau came back into power. And now they established what's today's called America. So now now is when the end of that prophecy, so to speak, is going to be fulfilled, because now is the time when we're going to smash this devil through the power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. We're going to smash this devil once and for all. As a matter of fact, okay, you got a precept,
Okay.
and then after that, get Romans. We'll get Romans the 16th chapter. Well, I'll get it.
Which one you want me to get first?
Good. You bring that one out,
Okay.
and then
This
I'll get
is
Romans 16.
this is 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, and starting at the 6th verse. Then did I consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other. And that's talking about Yahweh Shai. That's why Yahweh Shai said, I am the Alpha and the Omega. But really, he said, I am the Ah and the Tha, because
Right.
Yahweh Shai speaks Hebrew. All right. Verse 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth?
Right, which the pardon of Sunday of times, meaning what? When's going to be the change of the guard, so to speak?
Right.
The change of rulership. And that's what the Most High, basically, going back to Genesis, the 3rd chapter, the Most High set the woman's seed up basically with a certain time that they're going to, as we read on, a time that they're going to be in power. And he set the seed of the serpent up for a time that they're going to be in power. Okay, which now we're in that time. So now, and that's something that we all ask. When's going to be the part of Sunday? When's the time's going to change? When we going to get on top? A lot of black Jake asks that, which is spiritual, because that's what the prophet was asking. When's going to be the part in the Sunday of the times? Go ahead.
Right. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth?
Right, the end of the first. The first is what? The first rulership. Because really, Esau's, this is his heaven right here.
Right.
This is heaven for him.
His rulership.
His rulership. Remember the parable of Lazarus and the rich man.
Mm-hmm.
Esau is the rich man. Israel is Lazarus. All right? Go ahead.
Verse 8. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him.
Right. See, that's why we mentioned Jacob and Esau, because going back to Genesis, the 3rd chapter, when the Lord said he was going to put enmity between the woman and the serpent, between her seed and the serpent's seed.
Right.
That went all the way down to Jacob and Esau. It went from Cain and Abel, which Abel was the righteous and Cain was the wicked, as it tells you. I believe that's in what the book. This is 2 places, in John, I think the 8th chapter, and then in 1 John's.
Right.
All right. It tells you about how Cain was of that wicked one.
He that hateth his brother is a murderer.
Right. He that hateth his mother is a murderer. That's from the beginning, which that's going back to the curse. But then it also went down to Jacob and Esau. All right, so read that part again, brother.
And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau.
Right, now this prophecy, it has it the other way around. Cause when we go to Genesis, the 3rd chapter, it has Esau grabbing our heel, which that symbolized when Esau overthrew us and took us out of power.
Right.
All right, going during the basically the Renaissance era.
Right.
You know, around the Dark Ages.
Right. That's that time period where the serpent or the dragon was let loose after a period of 1,000 years for a season.
That's right.
That's what that's talking when you read Revelation, the 20th chapter.
That's right. So now this time it says that it's the other way around. Jacob is holding the heel of Esau. Read it again.
Right. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau.
Right, and now you can find that in Genesis, the 25th chapter. It tells you about the birth of Jacob and Esau, and then it was written prior to that where it said that what? The elder shall serve the younger. So Esau, because remember it said that the children struggle together within the womb. Right? Matter of fact, let me just read that real quick.
Okay, go to the point.
Go straight to the point. Genesis.
Yeah, because Pharaoh clown, don't let him read that.
Oh boy.
I mean, any of you brothers heard or saw that speech that Pharaoh clown did concerning this, man? Oh, he messed that. He mutilated this scripture, man.
Like he does any other scriptures. That's why that clown, he shouldn't even be touching his Bible, man. And the thing is, he know that we're Israelites too, but he's the devil, man.
He's the devil.
He's the devil.
Calypso Louis. He should have stood to doing Calypso, man.
Yeah. Hey, but the Lord, because that devil won't die, but the Most High got his ass preserved.
Hmm.
You know, the Lord want him preserved. I guess the taste of the missiles.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, back to Genesis, the 25th chapter, and I'm gonna just start at well, I'll start at 21, and I'm gonna read fast. Genesis 25 and 20 and 21. It says, and Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived, and the children struggled together, within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. So basically, it said the children struggled together, and as we read, these children is what? Jacob and Esau. They were fighting inside of her womb, okay, because she was barren, but then the Lord blessed her, Isaac, to get her pregnant. So now she's going to Isaac to pretty much go to the Lord, to the seers, and see why is it thus? Why is this happening? It's verse 23. And the Lord said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So that's right there showing you that it was a difference. Going back to Genesis, the 3rd chapter, is an enmity between the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman. Well, it is being played out right here with Jacob and Esau. That's why the Lord answered her. And then he said, what? One people shall be stronger than the other people. Now, I ain't got to tell you people who's the stronger people.
That's right.
We were the stronger people. Jacob was the stronger people.
And still are.
And still are the stronger people than Esau.
And forever will be.
And forever will be. But the thing is that Esau came out first.
Right.
You know, which as we're going to read on, that was the prophecy anyway. And that's why Esau, he got his first.
Yep.
You know, right now he's living it up. You see, but it's written that what? It said, and the elder shall serve the younger. It says, and when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment. And they called his name Esau. All right, that ain't you don't get a black man from that.
That's right.
All right, and it said the first came out red all over like an hairy garment. They called his name Esau. So Esau was the first, and it said that the elder shall serve the younger. So Esau is supposed to be the servant of us, which that's going to happen very soon in the kingdom. It says, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel.
That's right.
And his name was called Jacob. So that's what we're reading. That's what we're reading in 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, about how Jacob's hand took hold of Esau's heel. All right, so
right, which symbolizes Jacob pulling Esau down from his rulership.
That's right.
All right, so now we're in 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter and the 9th verse. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth.
And that's straight up. Esau, the so-called white man, is the end of the world, this world that we in. What's the term, Teotwaki, the end of the world as we know it?
Yep.
The so-called white man, and that's evident. He's destroying everything. This world is finished.
All right, so all you got to find out is who is Esau, who is Jacob, right now in this time we're living in.
Right.
And the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, has his prophets out there, right, teaching the word on the streets, telling people who is Esau and who is Jacob, because that's the two main nations that the Lord is dealing with, right?
Yep.
Caring about, so to speak. Well, he cares only about one nation, but
Yep.
pretty much I'm saying on the world scene, it's all about two nations. Fuck everybody else, you know?
Yeah. That's what we're reading about. So now, is more on that?
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. All right, that was just the point on that.
Okay, so no problem. So back in Genesis, the 3rd chapter, verse 15, says, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. So now, right there, that was a little different when Jacob held
Right.
Esau's heel, because that symbolized, which it happened one time, like we mentioned before, when we during the time of Severus Septimius, when he basically that's what he did. He just yanked Esau out of power.
Yep.
You know, but through prophecy's sake and everything, Esau got back on top.
Yep.
You know, but now this time when we pull Esau's heel, this time we're gonna bruise his head and we're gonna hit him with that death blow where he ain't gonna get back up.
Exactly.
Through the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai.
That's right.
So real quick, if I may, brother, I want to just bring out one more quick. This is a real quick precept. Romans chapter 16, verse, go straight to the point, verse 20, which we know that these are epistles and books written by Paul and the men with him that were for Israelites and the Israelite foreigners. So this is who he's Paul speaking to. Verse 20. And the power of peace shall bruise Satan under your feet shortly. The grace of our Lord Yahweh Shai be with you. Amen. So that's
Sharp.
it right there.
That was sharp. That was sharp.
How what that mean? We're going to stomp this devil's head in the fucking ground, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know? Back to when it says in Genesis, thou shalt bruise his heel, and he shall bruise thy head.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I said it backwards.
All right, and Satan right there represents Esau, the white man. Now the people in the churches would break that down. No, the spiritual demon Satan. See, no, the spiritual demon Satan is doing what he's supposed to do.
Right.
In the kingdom, we're gonna be sicking on on Esau and the nations. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
But Satan is doing what he's supposed to do. When you read Job, the first chapter, it'll explain that he came amongst the sons of the Most High to that meeting they had, on what they were gonna do with Job.